Hello everybody, good morning. Welcome to the United Stand. I'm joined by Ben Foster this mournful Manchester Monday derby reaction day. How are you feeling about it?
I feel fine. I feel absolutely fine.
Tell me, Ben, pray tell me, what is the big problem at Manchester United? Because this is like Groundhog Day. It comes round so often. We've heard the Glazers, a lot of the media turning on Ten Hag.
Yep.
I think ridiculous media-driven, putting it on Anthony and Bruno. Look, I'm not saying they didn't play well, but come on, it's not that they're not the only ones. You could say Maguire, Rashford, McTominay, but why are we back here again? Because I think United fans like myself, I'm not Ten Hag out. I'm not putting it on Maguire. I'm not putting it on Bruno. I would always put it on the Glazers, but I think we're at a point now where, is the whole club just broken?
A bit. It really is a bit, to be honest with you. I think what I really love about these big games like this is where afterwards you see the locking of horns. You see Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville going at it.
Let me speak, Ben. Let me speak.
I know. Let me speak. You had your turn. It's my turn, and I love it, right? Because Gaz Neville will always just keep beating this drum of the whole structure needs changing, the whole everything. It's the owners. Whereas Jamie Carragher tries to come in with, no, what is the actual problem? Like right now on the pitch, what can you do to change it? And I'm with Jamie Carragher a little bit, to be honest with you. Yeah, for sure, the whole thing needs changing, the infrastructure, how it runs. The quote about having a sporting director, for example, it's really important. Like Dan Ashworth at Newcastle, yeah? The guy at Brighton as well.
We need to find his name, don't we?
Yeah, they're proper sporting directors, right? They have an ethos. They have a way of doing things. They have a way of signing and recruiting players, whether it's coaches, staff. They have a way of doing things, right? Dan Ashworth, I know for a fact, right? He will ring round and get so many opinions of each player that he's interested in signing. He wants to find out what they're like as people, what they get up to. Blah. They want to find all of this kind of stuff, right?
Well, they used to do it at United.
They used to
obviously
do it.
You signed
without
for
doubt,
United.
they used to do it at Man
United. You know it happened.
That's exactly how it used to work at Manchester United. And even if they did sign somebody who was could go either way, they'd have enough good players in that team to be able to pull them in the right direction and say, stop being a dickhead, yeah? Stop doing that. You are not allowed to do that here at Man United.
So if you'd have been a dickhead in that dressing room with the likes of Keane and Scholes and everyone, wouldn't it?
You either change your ways and learn to be a Manchester United player, or you're done. You will not fit in. One, you won't fit in, and two, you won't play, and you'll be sold very quickly, right? It's as simple as that. Nowadays, I get the impression Manchester United don't do any of that kind of stuff. They want to sign somebody who has got 20 million Instagram followers, 100 whatever million this followers and subscribers. That's what they want to sign nowadays. They want this commercial beast is what they want, and it's not going to help you on the football pitch. You look at the players that were on the pitch on Sunday afternoon, compare them to Manchester City. There's not one player in that Man United team that would get near the starting lineup of that Man City team. And I mean that. The whole bench as well on Man City is better than the players that were starting for Man United.
Yeah, and I think that, you were saying before, obviously we can't say it because you were swearing, but you said there's a bit too many bad players, and not just players, but attitudes in that dressing room.
Yeah. Instagram heroes, I call them.
Yeah, compounded over the years. And it's interesting what, just quickly on that, Roy Keane was saying that Bruno shouldn't be the captain. The problem I have, and we do it on the fill-in, and one of the things we do on the fill-in is we actually come up, I think too many pundits these days, they gob off, and then they make a point and you go, oh, this is interesting, and then it's on to the next one. They never give you a solution. Yeah. So when Roy Keane says, Bruno shouldn't be the captain, take the captain off him, fine. Yeah. Who's the captain then?
Who then?
Who is the captain then? And that's the thing. There isn't anybody.
There's nobody in that team that genuinely screams that. I understand why Harry Maguire got given it. I do. I understand.
Because there's not really anyone, is there?
There's nobody else who you can see as a full-on leader, but a normal bloke as well. You want for a captain, right? You want somebody that will give you 110% on a pitch every single Saturday afternoon, yeah? He also has to be humble. He has to be a team player. He has to try and cajole everybody to get everybody going.
And therefore, he's got to be good.
He's got to be good, but he's got to be on the pitch as well. He has to be there on a Saturday afternoon.
Otherwise, not good.
Reliable. 7, 8, 9 out of 10 every single week. He has to be that guy on that pitch. And then he also doesn't go pointing fingers at people. You never get a captain that points fingers. And this is why I understand Roy Keane's point, because if I was on that Manchester United team and my captain is pointing fingers and flinging his arms around, it's one of the worst things, I swear. I've played football for like 20 years, and if any player on my team was flinging arms around or pointing, I'd wait till I get into the change room at half-time and I'd go, you little prick, don't you ever do that again. That is the shittest thing you can do, seriously. It's so annoying, and that's exactly how those Man United players will be feeling when they come in at half-time, when they come in at full-time. They see their leader doing that, no chance.
The trouble is, though, he's the best of a bad bunch, and as much as I love Roy Keane, I just think it's this agenda stuff that fans get accused of, but actually I think the media are the worst. I think they've got no solution. I woke up this morning, they're going in on Anthony, and I'm like, Bruno's had it, and I'm like, so where's the foreign player? And yet I've had a week of Harry Maguire being the best player ever, and I knew that was going to happen yesterday. I knew that, and Rashford as well. Another game where he doesn't perform. Yeah, Scott McTominay's not good enough. It's a collective.
Yeah, I agree. They're not good enough, full stop. Yeah, they're not good enough, full stop. But it's the petulance of these players. Yeah, I don't care if you're foreign English. I don't care what it is, right? If you're flinging your arms about or you're being petulant and slapping people's hands away. You see the way Anthony's doing that? He's like a big kid. Genuinely, he's like a big kid. It's all for show. It's all for show. You don't have to get involved in that kind of stuff, yeah? It's because he's losing, and it's his way of showing the fans, look how much I care. This means so much to me. It's a Manchester derby. Load of shit. Do the talking with your feet on the pitch. That's how you're supposed to do it. Run around with intensity. Shut people down. When you get the ball, show a glimpse of brilliance, yeah? I just don't believe that Man United have got any world-class players in their team. World-class players, right? Regardless, sometimes you'll say world-class, very good players need other good players around them. World-class players will do it by themselves regardless, yeah? They will always stick out. They'll always be one of the best 2-3 players on the pitch, right? Man United just haven't got any of them.
It's worrying, isn't it? Because I do agree with that. I think the whole dressing room for a long time, and this is not a Ten Hag issue. This happened with Solskjaer. It happened with Mourinho. You could almost take it back to where it all fell apart for me was when Mourinho went head-to-head with Pogba and the club stuck up with Pogba. Yeah. And I think they're still suffering from that. Where do you fit? I want to talk about where United go from here, but where do you sit on Ten Hag? Because it's funny that I put a tweet out last night saying that Ten Hag, what's the point in getting rid of the manager when we've been here before? And what does that do? And then somebody tweeted and got a bit of interaction saying that, if you've been cheated on 4 times before and then the 5th person cheats you still get rid of them. And I was like, well, that's great. Probably going to get you a few retweets, but we've got no money to replace this manager. You don't just get, again, it's a bit like changing the captain. Change the manager, then what? We're in massive debt. Who are you going to get? It's going to be Darren Fletcher again, which is Ollie. You're still going to have this collection of players, of your players, my players, everyone else's players. I think the more managers you sack, the harder the job becomes, because it just becomes more and more jigsaw pieces of different managers, doesn't it? Yeah. But on the other hand, the football's terrible, and I can see the results carrying on like this. So it's just a mess. It's
not going to change anything. Sacking the manager will not change anything. I promise you. Until they get, like I say, a sporting director in place first and foremost, and then when it comes to signing players, you have to do your due diligence on them. You have to sign the right people first, yeah? Identify the world-class talents, yeah? And then look at the people that they are as well. Once you start signing all the right people... Do you hear Pep Guardiola afterwards talking about Bernardo Silva? Do you hear what he's saying about him? You don't understand how important this is to be humble. To be so humble that you are selfless, yeah? Selfless on the pitch. You just go about your business. You know what your job is. You just go about your business. You work hard. You do it for the team. You get stuck in. It's as simple as that. Afterwards, he hasn't got none of the tattoos. He hasn't got none of the fancy cars. He don't go posting on Instagram all day long, yeah?
You're a footballer.
You're a footballer, yeah? You don't get to go do all that kind of stuff without actually...
Who's impressed by that, though? I mean, I don't know whether there's any United fans out there, because I know we'd be the same. Who's impressed with winning team photos? I've got a brand deal with this. I'm on the cover of Vanity Fair. I couldn't give a shit. Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, never did it. Beckham did it. I didn't mind it because he performed on the pitch.
Mate, right,
fucking hell, what's happened?
I'll give you an example, like Garnacho, for example, right? And it's not a personal attack, I swear, but when you are putting sort of Instagram posts out where you're going on a night out with your mates and you have hired a photographer to come and take pictures of you getting into your Mercedes Viano or whatever it is, and then also when you're sat at the dinner table with your mates just wearing all this cool gear, and I'm just thinking, wow, like imagine going out for food with your mates and a photographer's coming along. All my mates would just go, what the fuck is he doing? Like, he's not coming with us. We're having a nice night.
The club probably encourage it, though.
But it's embarrassing. Seriously, it's embarrassing. This is a 20-year-old kid we're talking about here, right? But there's so many of them in that Man United team. There's so many of them in that Man United team. Look, on the other hand, on Man City, you don't get many of them whatsoever.
No, I said it. It's just reminded me, actually, last night, because I had a couple of glasses, bit more of that red wine after that last night too. But just before I went to bed, I got sent this clip of Ralph Rangnick, and anyone who watches the United stand knows I was a big fan of Ralph Rangnick, mainly for his press conferences. The performances on the pitch were shit, but I loved what he said, and he just spoke everything that United fans have been thinking, everything you've said about a sporting director. And what happened to Ralph Rangnick? The media never liked him because he took Ollie's job, and they knew he wasn't going to be there full time. The ex-players never liked him, and he ended up actually being a bit of a clown act. He sort of got forced out of the club. He said things about the club, so they didn't want him either. And with every passing minute, everything he said becomes more profound. He's almost like Moses. Yeah. You know, it's biblical, the stuff he came out with, because, and you know, it's one thing looking at Pep and going, Man City have got that. But Man United had the guy. He shouldn't have been the manager. Yeah. He should have become the sporting director. That was the plan. We had that guy 18 months ago where would we be now if we'd just given him that job?
You know what's scary then? It probably shows that Man United don't really want to go that way.
No, because he told too many truths,
There's too many feathers going to get ruffled if that guy stays around the place. For one, he won't accept any of these players signing that. But then Man United go, actually, you know what? We could do with signing though, because commercially, he makes us a lot of money. You know, he's Mexican or he's Japanese, or, you know, those areas where you can really dominate and get a lot of money commercially. Man United are still, I think, now going, we can make a lot of money from that player, so let's just sign him. And even if he is a bad egg, it doesn't matter because we'll make a lot of money from it.
I'll tell you what I want to ask you about, actually. Rashford. I was thinking about it yesterday. I'm a big fan of Rashford. He's been dreadful this season, and no player should get picked just because they're a star player. Ten Hag was asked about him on Friday. Really interesting what he said. He basically said, look, I pick him all the time. I start him every game. I don't take him off. That loyalty's not been shown. But there's this thing, I don't know what people think in the chat, get in the comments, this thing about Rashford that I think is a bit of a myth. Like, I do the watch-alongs. A lot of people watch. He gets loads of stick. When Højlund got took off yesterday, they were booing because they want Rashford off. Yeah. And I'm starting to get to that point with Rashford now, who is a very good brand. I'm not so sure, and maybe I'm missing the room here, I'm not so sure he's that well received by United fans. Yeah. He's not Ryan Giggs. He's not David Beckham. He's you know, I think people think because Rashford's got these huge socials. If I was Marcus Rashford's people and I like him, I'd be looking at that, because I think there's a bit of a myth around these numbers. I think you're very popular with my daughter loves him, but I don't think United fans have sort of like. I just don't think they. I don't think he's like got money in the bank.
No,
I think he's like that he's being turned on.
You know what would be really interesting for me is to see the stats from the last England game where he ran his socks off. Is it Italy? Where he ran his socks off, worked like you wouldn't believe, was part of it.
Could his issue be Sancho, like his mate?
It's the whole thing.
But then Ten Hag's picking him and saying, I love you, so mixed loyalties.
This is it. If you're talking about the fact that he can't put a performance in because he's aggrieved that his mate hasn't been treated very well or something like that, that's just pathetic. Marcus Rashford's the highest paid player on the team, and he's not putting it in on the pitch. So like I say, if he can go away with England and work his socks off and do it, you know he can do it then, So he can do it. He's proved he can do it. Well, but then if he's not doing the same thing for Manchester United, there's a reason why he's not doing that, But either way, he's not doing it. So
player power again,
you don't get to play if you're not doing it. For me, and a lot of managers out there, right, you can forgo maybe one player who is a world beater. You can forgo him and go, right, you might not have to work so hard today because I know that when you get the ball, you'll make a
Ronaldo,
a Messi, a bit of magic, a Gareth Bale, a Harry Kane even. I know that when you get your opportunity or your chance, you'll see it, you'll sniff it, and you'll take the most of it, and you'll score us a goal, and you'll change stuff, right? You can do one of those players. Marcus Rashford is not good enough to not be able to put the work in. He has to, 100% of the time, be working his socks off, shutting people down, getting in their faces. When he does get the ball, show his glimpses of brilliance that he undoubtedly does have. But he's not doing any of them. So when you don't do the work to start with, then straight away the manager what he should do is going, well, you're not doing the most important thing. And you're letting the team down by not doing the most important thing. So you're not going to be able to stay on the pitch. And that goes for everyone as well. It doesn't matter who you are.
Do you think with Ten Hag then that, he's almost fallen into the same trap that better managers than him have fallen? I mean, Mourinho got outed because of player power. He's got Sancho refusing to apologise, which I don't care what anybody says this morning is a fucking disgrace. He is shitting on you as much as he's shitting on Ten Hag. To not apologise and refuse to wear a Man United shirt is just, get rid of him. I think he's a good player. Maybe there's another side to the story, but, when you lose a game like that, people start saying we need Sancho. He won't apologise, so jog on. But the reality is, with Rashford, if he just starts dropping Rashford, is Ten Hag on thin ice there? He's having to pick Rashford because if he drops him, it's another player that he's dropped. And we know what the media's like in relation to British players.
Yeah.
What's the future for Ten Hag?
He's struggling is what he's doing, but there's not a lot else you can do. I don't care who you bring in, yeah? Unless you bring in a Pep Guardiola or a Jurgen Klopp who genuinely take no shit, and what he'll do is when they sign as well, they'll say to the board, the owners, everybody that above them in that like director's role and stuff, they'll say, no, we're doing it my way. Yeah. And if you're not on board, I will either tell the owners or I'll tell the world. Yeah, I'll sit in my press conference and I'll say, this guy's a financial director has told me not to do that because it's financially not. I don't give a shit about the financials. What I want to do is make this team successful again. Yeah. And there's only probably a couple managers in world football that would have the power and the strength and the personality to be able to do that, right? So you've got to just stick with Ten Hag for now, right? And hope that he can
changes.
Yeah, and like I say, bring the technical director in. Is there a difference between a football director and a technical director? I think they're about the same thing. Sporting director, they're all the same. Whatever they are, that sort of person, all right? Because that person is key because he understands the values of the football club, the ethos of the football club, and then every single player, they'll sit in a room together with the manager and they'll identify a load of players, but then it'll be his job to go and find out what they're about as people. And once you start signing good people, that's when you can start to build. But I feel sorry to an extent for Ten Hag, but he's going to have to start being probably a bit more honest with the fans, being a bit more brutal with the team selection.
What you said yesterday? I meant to ask you about this before we wrap up. I mean, I only saw it late last night. He said on Sky, he was asked about why Varane and Reguilon were out for Evans and Lindelof, and whether it was form and fitness. He said tactics.
Tactics, yeah.
I mean, even I said last night, he's got to be lying, because if he's not lying, he's basically sacking himself. I like Johnny Evans, but he can't play ahead of Varane. And you can't put Lindelof at left-back ahead of a left-back.
Yeah, but you don't... Right, this is, again, right, playing for Man United is the most what's the word, stressful, most pressured situation in world football, yeah? Playing for Man United, honestly, because of the fan base, right? And everybody knows how much vitriol you get if you do not succeed and if you do not perform, right? You do not know that going into that game that Raphael Varane's head's in the right place. Genuinely, I think for me, there's a reason why people like him aren't playing in these games, yeah? If the manager has seen that he might be just a bit low on confidence, that's enough for me. That honestly, if you're low on confidence, I don't care if you're the best player in the world. If you're low on confidence, you're nowhere near it.
But is it
not be there on the pitch?
Is it not? Look, it's suicide. I knew.
Do you know what you're going to get from
Evans and Maguire? Yeah, you're going to get a hat trick for Erling Haaland.
Do you know what you're going to get from Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire though? Is heart on your sleeve, yeah. Genuinely, no. I understand what you're saying. They're not as good. They're not as good defenders as Raphael Varane. They're not, yeah. I understand that. Everybody in the world understands that, okay. But what you will get from Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans is heart on the sleeve, and they will buckle in and they will go, right, lads, we are going to give you everything we've got today, 110% effort, heart, everything. We'll give you everything we've got, right? We might have flaws that are not as good as Varane's and the other, but we will still give you absolutely everything. And I think that's the reason why they played on Sunday afternoon, because the manager knows that he will just get grit and determination from them. And he'll forgo the fact that they might not be as good at defenders. But I do think that Raphael Varane, the reason why he probably wasn't selected was either a fitness issue or the fact that his head's probably not in the right place.
I think it was fitness. And just finally, what's next for United?
Well,
I think this is the thing. I think people want to sack the manager because they still think they think a manager's going to come in and get us up. I've actually hate to accept it, but I think we are where we are because of the players we've got, the coaches we've got, the owners we've got, the lack of sporting director. I think in the modern game, when Villas and Brightons are so well run, 8th, 9th is where United are. Yeah. So I don't know what people are moaning about. And the only way we're going to get up is not by changing the manager. Yeah. You've got to change everything else.
This is, again, going back to the Jamie Carragher, Gary Neville argument. This is why I side with Jamie Carragher a bit more, to be honest with you, because if the likes of a Brighton or the likes of an Aston Villa can do it, where they haven't spent years or millions and millions on the infrastructure, they just get how to sign good players and good people. It's not hard. Genuinely, it's not hard. It really isn't. They just get how to do it. So if they can do it and Aston Villa can be in the top 4, top 5, then why can't Manchester United?
Well run.
With so many more resources available to them, why can't Man United do that as well? And that's the bit where I think Jamie Carragher had a better point.
All the gear and no idea.
Basically. Yeah.
Thanks, Ben. Legend. Pleasure. Get your comments in below. I'm sure you've got loads. We whizzed through loads of different things in there. And if there's other reasons, get in the comments. Thanks, Ben.
Pleasure.
Speak to you all soon.